Hello and welcome back to the Lynn Lowdown. I'm Danny Vittori, and today we have on two representatives from Greater Lynn Senior Services. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
So would you mind just introducing yourselves to the audience and what your title is in the organization?
Sure. My name is Phoebe Bakeman, and I'm the Healthcare for All Grant Coordinator.
And I'm Holly Jarrell-Marcinelli, and I'm the Director of Consumer Services.
Great. So we are on here to talk a little bit about how you work with MassHealth to go specifically. So could you maybe explain a little bit about MassHealth, like what it is, who they serve, for people who may not know?
Yeah, sure. So MassHealth is an insurance provided by the state that provides coverage for healthcare and health-related services. It serves low and moderate income families. It serves children, older adults, people with disabilities, a variety of groups.
And right now you're here talking about specifically how GLSS is helping people with MassHealth Redetermination. So
Right.
It was suspended during COVID, is that correct? And now it's kind of coming back. How did that work?
Yeah, right. The renewal process got suspended during COVID. So prior to COVID, people needed to renew or recertify, renew their eligibility usually every year in order to keep their MassHealth. So during COVID, MassHealth protected the status of everyone who had MassHealth so they could continue to get the health services they needed during the pandemic. So after the end of the public health emergency, MassHealth has started back this process of renewing, and they now have over 2 million people to assess for recertification.
That's a lot. And people, how do they know if they need to renew information? It's the blue envelope you were saying that people can get in the mail?
Right. So MassHealth will, over a period of a year since they started this process back in March 2023, they'll be sending blue envelopes to those who are eligible for redetermination. So once you get this blue envelope in the mail, it's your time to submit everything.
So for GLSS, what do you do specifically to help people with this process?
So we have a couple of initiatives where MassHealth has asked us and organizations like us to help mostly get the word out about what's happening and why it's so important not to lose your MassHealth coverage. So we are providing information in the community. We also have certified application counselors on staff, and that's partially funded through the Executive Office of Elder Affairs and MassHealth to allow us to help older adults with this process. So older adults who maybe lose their coverage or don't know how to do the process with the blue envelope, they can get help with a certified application counselor to help them with that.
And one thing you were mentioning, like you said, you work for GLSS, not MassHealth. So if people are unsure who to contact, what would you say to that?
If you're not sure who to contact about this process, we always recommend call MassHealth Customer Service. They will be the best resource. They'll also be able to advise you on what you might need to submit for your redetermination and give you any important due dates that you need to know about.
Okay. And how long does the redetermination process go for? How long do people have to submit information, update things?
So this entire redetermination campaign from MassHealth is a total of a year. So they have from March 2023, when this was first started, until April of this year for all of these redeterminations to be completed.
And if someone gets the blue envelope in the mail, though, they have 45 days to return the packet of information. So the information inside the envelope will tell them what they need to submit or how to do this process. And they have 45 days to respond, and then MassHealth will determine whether or not they're still eligible.
Okay, all right.
If they don't respond or return the information within 45 days, they will be disenrolled.
Oh, okay.
So that's why we're trying to get the word out, why it's so important that people, first of all, be on the lookout for the blue envelope. But another really important thing to do is for everyone to make sure that MassHealth has their correct contact information. Because since this process didn't happen since early 2020, people may have moved, they may have new contact information, and if MassHealth doesn't know that, they may be sending the blue envelope somewhere else.
The wrong place. So
people can call MassHealth just to make sure that MassHealth has their correct contact information.
Okay, that makes makes sense. You said if they don't get the envelope, they don't know they have to do it.
Right,
so that's the
exactly.
problem. You did mention this, you can be disenrolled. So is it possible for people, it is possible people who disenroll lose coverage. What circumstances would go around that? Like, would cause you to maybe lose it?
Well, like Holly mentioned, if MassHealth is not able to get in contact with you, that's where you're at big risk for losing your coverage. Once again, why it's so important to make sure they have your updated contact information. If you are disenrolled, though, there are other options available to you through the Massachusetts Health Connector.
Well, that's definitely a good thing for people to know, so that they don't, panic. Like, oh, I don't qualify for this, but they can get other things. So, I guess within your roles, your job specifically, do you work more with seniors, the general population? Is it a mix to help with this?
GLSS serves people of all ages. The programs through which we are operating these grants are focusing on older adults.
Okay.
There are a lot of additional services, or very important services, critical supports for older adults that they can get through MassHealth. So it's really important for us to help people maintain their MassHealth. We don't want our consumers to be losing their MassHealth and possibly lose services that they're getting through that.
No, not at all. And you mentioned certified application counselors. How would people, do they need appointments? Are there specific hours? How does that work?
Our certified application counselor who helps people 65 and older with their applications, they can just call GLSS and ask to be connected with the certified application counselor. They work with people individually and they'll set up appointments. They may not always be in the office, so it's better to set up an appointment rather than to just walk in.
Okay.
But they can help with the process. Even maybe the person doesn't need help with the full application, but they might just need some guidance or advice. The certified application counselor can help with that too.
That's definitely a good thing for people to know.
And you don't have to be a GLSS consumer.
Oh, okay.
In order, I should add that anyone who's 65 or older who needs assistance with this process can call, and our certified application counselors will help them.
Oh, so it is, like you said, it's open to that whole community.
Yeah.
Anyone who's under 65, who's a little bit younger, do you still offer any help or assistance to them, or how does that work?
Yes, we can. Our certified application counselor can actually work with some of our consumers who are 60 and older and has resources to connect people with other certified application counselors. Also on the mass.gov website, you can find out how to find your nearest certified application counselor that can assist you with an application.
That's good to know. That's always good to know. And I said you were working with Healthcare for All grant. That's focused more on the wider community. So you focus more on kind of everybody, not just seniors.
Yeah, that's right. So MassHealth and Healthcare for All, they identified 15 target municipalities within the state, and Lynn is one of those target communities. GLSS, since we're right in the heart of Lynn, we've been working since we got this grant, attending various community events, handing out information, like Holly said previously, handing out information at our own events that we put on at GLSS. One of them, for example, is our monthly brown bag mobile market. And we also have put out different ads detailing all of this information in local newspapers.
So really making sure that everybody knows about it, everyone can know about it.
Right.
And what would you say is the best way for people to find out about new information from you? Would it be Facebook, website, email? How do you really tend to blast that information?
It tends to vary each month, but we are fairly consistent with posting on social media, just as a reminder to get it out there. We always love if people share that information as well. And we really do try to reach most people through newspaper ads and just community outreach.
Yeah, it's all about connecting people. And I will have to wrap up in a moment, but is there anything that I didn't mention about MassHealth coverage, anything that you wanted to mention?
I think there's one thing I'd like to talk about, which is Phoebe had mentioned other forms of MassHealth or other types of support that if you're no longer qualifying for MassHealth, and you had asked about what might cause somebody to lose their MassHealth. So a lot of times MassHealth eligibility determination has to do with income, has to do with financial eligibility. And for people who are 60 and older, the Aging Services Access Point, which is GLSS in this area, can assess, and if someone is a nursing facility level of care, they need a higher level of care, but want to receive that care in the community, they may be eligible for something called a frail elder waiver, which we can help them get through GLSS, and then they might be eligible for MassHealth even if they were over the financial limits for MassHealth. So it's an expansion of the financial limits to qualify for MassHealth. That can only be assessed by an ASAP, by an Aging Services Access Point like GLSS. So if somebody is 60 or older, if they've lost their MassHealth, perhaps due to financial reasons, but still need those services, they could contact GLSS and ask to be assessed for the frail elder waiver.
That is definitely good information to know. And thanks for bringing that up and making sure you clarified it. We also have the information on the screen, and they can also contact you to ask any additional questions. And I said I have to wrap up now, but thank you both again so much for coming on to share this really important information.
Thanks for having us.
Great, anytime. And once again, I'm Danny Vittori. This has been the Lynn Lowdown, and we'll see you next week with more guests.